Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October 2023 Evergreen Cataloging Interest Group. I am Jennifer Weston, facilitator of this fine group. As always, on behalf of the organizing committee, whose names are listed at the top of the agenda, we welcome you and you're glad you're here with us on this fine fall day. This is part 2 of parts. We are recording. If there's anybody new to us, I don't see new names, but if there is anybody new, welcome. Everybody should have access to edit this document, as always, so the agenda will turn into the notes. I'll get the recording from today and the notes updated within a couple of days. I'll get it up this week. Let everybody know it's ready. So we're a smaller group than last time. I thought what we would do today is kind of quickly go through the regular updates that we do, talk a little bit about a recap tiny little bit of recap from last month, and then just kind of talk about where we go from here with monograph parts. And we've got a couple of different people in the organizing committee are prepared to talk about a couple of different things. And one of those specific things being reports with parts, because that's become a very important piece of utilizing them is how do you put any kind of control over a vocabulary that you want to be controlled, but it is just technically not. It's just more of the honor system of using a controlled vocabulary. So we can talk about part reports and how those can help kind of manage reports for folks that are in any way tied to the need to do that management level of making sure that parts are handled uniformly and consistently. Anything anybody else wants to add, please just make a note on the agenda as we go. And to our Canadian friends, happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to quickly go through a lot of the things that are just standard on here. Evergreen release notes, there hasn't been a new release since the last time. I will announce that tabular release notes now have 311 on there. So finally, I updated that. I don't think I've gotten all the point releases in there yet. Oh, Carol, you got to go home for Thanksgiving too. That's great. And hi, Maggie. Want to just recognize that you're just coming back from your Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks for sharing it with us. Okay, back to my tabular release notes. They are updated through 311 now. I believe I was saying I've got a few of the point releases for 310 and 39. I need to go back and double check, but at least 311's there. So that's good news. Wanted to make sure that was in place prior to 312 because 312 is well on its way. And many of you are here today that are on the 312 team, but I did want to make sure you were recognized here on the development roadmap. So the development roadmap has been updated. Thank you to the 312 release team. That means we now have dates for how that's going to progress, and I'm sure it will progress beautifully. So Andrea, Michelle, Taryn, Ruth, Gary, and Jane, quite a few of you are here. Anybody want to say anything about the 312 development roadmap? I haven't asked any of you, but now certainly an opportunity if you want to mention anything about how that's going. You're welcome to do so.
Just that if you have development that your organization is funding or working on, please add it to the actual 312 roadmap so we know that things are going out there. And there are going to be a couple things from Equinox for catalogers to test. So, please keep an eye out for that when we do the Feedback Fest or Bug Squashing Week. I should know which one it is, but I don't. It's Feedback Fest, which will be the first week of November. So.
Fabulous. And Taryn says you're meeting every Monday afternoon to look at one or two pull requests as a group, and anyone is welcome to sit in. And those messages are going to the general list, aren't they? The discussion list. It's fine, Taryn. Don't need a headset. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that those messages go to that. Otherwise, on the development roadmap, I think, well, let's just look. Don't let me just guess. I think they are listed. Nope. Mondays.
Yeah.
And there's a link to the Zoom, which is the Evergreen Project Zoom, like this one. Yeah. Mondays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and everything in between, and even further along the Atlantic coast. Lovely. Mondays, I'll add those to the notes afterwards. Well, that was a little bit of a celebration already. Thanks. Quick celebration because fall is my favorite time of the year. So it's officially fall. Hooray. there's my celebration. Part of fall brings the Evergreen Hackaway. Yeah, I know. So anybody that wants to join me in celebrating fall, celebrate for as long as we can till the first snow. Evergreen Hackaway is coming up very quickly in October. For anybody that's going to be in person this year at Hackaway, woohoo, woohoo. I'm not, but hooray. I'm very, very glad that this is happening because I think beautiful things happen at Hackaway when you bring minds together that um, just have a little bit of, I'm going to say uninterrupted. That's perhaps not true, but less interrupted time when they get together and, plan to make Evergreen better and collaborate. And quite a few are there. This today is not intended to talk about Hackaway. I just want to remind people that is happening and that is going to be part of moving 312 forward. I do want to say thanks to Andrea, and I didn't let you know this in advance, but one of the things I noticed on the Evergreen Hackaway list, and let's look at that all together, is the staff catalog blocker list. Here we go, the staff catalog blocker tickets, which has been on our agenda for most of this year. We've had the same 11 or 12 tickets, so thank you for bringing that to Hackaway.
Did I? Or did somebody just put my name on that? I have
I
no
did
mean of that.
not.
Okay.
It
I
was
mean, I will
not
bring it
me.
now that my name is on it. I mean, I'll have to go spelunk the history. It is entirely possible that I put
Yeah.
myself there.
Well, I could just promise it wasn't me. I was very happy to see it, but it was not me.
All right. Well, I guess I'm bringing that to. I probably did because that was something we talked about in release meetings. Yeah, it's completely feasible that I did that and then forgot all about it. So,
Okay.
but now it's in there. It's written in stone.
And it's recorded, so hey.
I guess I'm talking about that.
Yes, you are. And anybody that watches the recording is forewarned. Okay. Well, thank you for that, past Andrea and future Andrea. We appreciate that very much. I want to talk a little bit more about the staff catalog blockers in just a moment before we talk about parts. But moving along, if anybody has any updates or announcements or celebrations or, just adventures and upgrades that they want to talk about, feel free to chime in here or just update your own notes here about how you're going. I know that we've got quite a few plans to upgrade either by the end of the year or the first of the year. So I don't.
Bibliomation has nailed down a time frame. We're looking at February to do our upgrade.
Woo! Oh, just there we go. February, and you're going to 311. You've been testing for a little while, right?
Yeah, we've been testing and documenting, and we have a group of our member libraries they form a steering committee, so they're going to get first exposure to it to, kick the tires. So we're having a meeting with them next Thursday to bring them up to speed on what's new. And I'm going to do a little presentation about ACK because that's very new. The circulation stuff, the screens might look a little different, but the functionality is pretty much the same.
Okay, let me just drop a few notes in there. ACK specifically. Okay.
Right. And then we're going to do webinars in January for the rest of our members to bring them up to speed on what's new, what's coming. So Gina's going to do one on new features, and I'm going to do a separate one on acquisitions.
I'll remember what that means. Y'all know me by now. I'll clean this up later.
Something I'd be really interested in hearing from those of you who are at the stage of doing demos and showing people the new features. I'd love to hear which new features got oohs and ahs, and cataloging in particular, but anywhere in the system, and which ones were people not as excited about as you thought they would be. It's always just interesting to see what catches people's eyes or has a particular value to them, and it's not always easy to predict that in advance.
Well, I'm hoping the new staff view tab in the Angular catalog will get some buzz, but you never know.
If that one does not,
yeah,
that I will be very disappointed and extremely surprised. I really think that's going to be great.
Well, one of my coworkers the other day predicted that the response is going to be that they want the item information on the same tab, and I'm like, brought up an old saying my father used to say, was like, what do you want, egg in your beer?
And that might start a lively discussion about people who do want egg in their beer. So,
Right.
there you go.
Great. Oh, good. Sharon, I just saw your note. Let's pause for a moment and recognize Sharon Douglas. Laurel just moved from 3.3 to 311 yesterday.
Wow.
That just needs a pause and applause.
Putting out fires, huh?
3.11 yesterday, October 9th. I'm just going to, in memoriam there. There we go. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm sure you are putting out fires, but exciting. Wow. It's a whole new world. We've got cool. I'll make sure I haven't lost anybody. I'll go back through notes, but make sure.
Well, actually, that's the leap we'll be taking, 3.9 to 3.11 in February. So
She came from 3.3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that part.
3.3 to 311.
Wow.
Let me just try to make a little space there. That's exciting. Yeah. Okay. So, Elizabeth, I've got your note on there as people
I see.
share.
Thank you.
Yeah, at the top there. So we can see how that's going when we're next together and then first of the year. Very exciting. Moving my screen around there. Okay. Anybody else want to? Well, Sharon, you had to write a whole new manual for circ staff. I am certain. Yep. Okay. Whew, that's excitement. Kind of anticlimactic to go on. There are more meetings for lots of different, for all of our fellow interest groups. They're all here as usual. I know there's a unified community calendar now. This is just habit of me doing this on the agenda. So I guess I can take this off since there's a community calendar. But for now, it's just drawing attention to what's coming next. So here they are. All the links as usual link out to the individual wiki pages that are there. Anybody have any announcements? Andrea, I'm continuing to use your Collaboramunity and attributing it to you. So for Collaboramunity, the session of our call, I did make a note about the dig. Is there anything on report stocks you want to talk about? Debbie's not here, so that's back to you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Anything?
My real legacy is making up words that the Evergreen community uses, and I'm okay with that. No, I pushed out the new version of the reports documentation that Dig created. And then we've had some people, especially Susan Morrison, doing a little bit of review and feedback on that. And then Blake pushed a follow-up fix that I promised that I would commit and have not yet. But yeah, so those are all the version, the alpha, I should say, version of those documents are out in the community under reports documentation. And I do hope to find some time this week to push both Blake's fix as well as commits to fix the various things that our testers have pointed out. So yeah, if you do a lot with reports and want to give feedback, I have a link for that. Let's see. It's somewhere.
That's fine.
I'll find it and drop it in the agenda. So if anybody wants to add to that, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you all so very much. I think it's a huge
Oh wait, I
effort.
actually had I had the tab open because of course I did.
Of course you did.
It's just lost, buried behind a tab folder. So I will pop that into the agenda.
Okay, thanks. And that was no small lift, so that's going to be huge benefit to lots of folks. Especially as next month, serendipitously, we're going to be talking about cataloging reports, kinds of things we need and how to make them happen. So, right on time. I added just a small note here. The user interface interest group has got some really great discussions going on about consistency and terminology. These are conversations we've had off and on for the last more years than I care to count, actually. I thought a conversation that we had about, you remember, for those of you that have been coming to these meetings for a while, I was thinking about the conversation we had of item versus copy, conversations back around again. I thought, oh, that was just a year or two ago. It was 4 years ago when we had that conversation. But one of the things this group is doing is looking at this kind of holistically to see, there's still little pieces that are, crumbs that are out there in the universe that haven't been completely moved over. So consistency is not complete yet. So if you have not yet subscribed to that user group, and you can do that by going to the user group link there, the user interface group, it's not going to commit you to actually show up at any meetings, but if you go there, you can subscribe to their Gmail if you want to follow their discussions about consistency and terminology, because when we start talking about holdings and volumes and call numbers, that absolutely affects us and in the kind of detail that we impose when we look on individual screens. So thanks to that group too, and to Stephanie who's leading that group. Skipping ahead, authorities working group. I don't think there's anything new since last time. I should have led with, I've been on vacation. This is my second day back, so I'm doing good to.
Yeah, I don't think we've met
Yeah.
since September 8th, so we should probably,
Yeah, we should meet.
look at that again.
Yeah. It's certainly our intention to meet in the fall. So we'll have a meeting this month and at least October and November so that we can give an update by the end of the year. Does that sound fair, Carol?
That sounds fair.
All right. So we'll do that. And we'll put those when the meeting notices out to the list so everybody will know. Just another hint here, Maggie too. I was just going to leave the same note to say if there are authorities related questions, please send them to us. When we have enough of this in a good enough shape to be able to start sharing some of the work product of the group, we'll certainly do that. Maggie, anything else we want to say? Maggie or Carol, either one?
I don't think so. Yeah, just any questions anyone has on any part of the process, and then hopefully when we get to it, we're just kind of going from the beginning. We've got some glossary terms, and we're working our way through the process so we can share that with everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Maggie. Moving along. I know time's going quickly. Launchpad bugs, I usually skip right over. I wanted to just take a moment to say that I have done a little bit of work on the wiki because I keep finding lots of lists that we've made over the last year and a half. Thanks to Andrea, who during one of our recent organizing committee meetings started going through the list and updating them to say, this one's been fixed, this one's been fixed, this one's been fixed. Recognize that a lot of the things we've talked about in the last year and a half actually have been fixed. I want to bring this back to the group, if not next month, certainly as we look into next year. I've put links out here that certainly I'm not going to spend time on now, but the Angular staff catalog page now has Launchpad bugs to watch section. And well, I'll click over there really quickly just to show you what I'm talking about. Here are you can see Launchpad bugs to watch. This is the Angular staff catalog history here. You can see how many of these have been fixed. Isn't this a nice way to look at it? Everything on this page has been fixed except for these highlighted in yellow. Most of these are on our list of 12 as I'm taking to calling them. Isn't that fabulous? The other list started at the very top of this page. The evolution of our list would fill volumes. But here's the other list that we started literally a year and a half ago. And we spent an entire meeting on this one. Look at everything that's been fixed here. The only things in yellow are things that we have talked about or are part of the list of 12. Or Pels has actually contracted for dev work on one of these. I have no intention of going through each one of these today, unless somebody has a particular bug they want to. I want to just stop and celebrate for the moment that there's a lot that has been done in a year and a half. So yes, we have this list of 12, but this is remarkable. So thanks to all of you that are here and many people that are not here that have made that happen. I do want to, however, point out one change on the wiki. So you probably don't remember the order of things that I put in. That's perfectly okay. I've rearranged a few of these. So this is now called Angular Staff Catalog History, because now that I've updated that, that's kind of just going to be an archival piece for us. I've added the staff catalog blocker because while, yes, you can click on the staff catalog or blog blocker tag that's on our regular agenda notes and get all of them. And we'll do that in a minute. I just kind of listed them all here. It's just a cleaner look for me. So as we start talking about the 12, these are the 12. And these are the ones that Andrew's going to take to hack away, and it'll be great. But no, if there's anything, I wanted to put these here so we can draw attention to them today. And as we're reviewing bugs or have time to consider these in the next month or so, if there's anything that we want to go back on, and some of them need a little discussion, some of them are definitely going to need testing when they come through. These are the 12 that we want to highlight. They're called blockers because this is what's blocking the adoption of the Angular staff catalog for many libraries, because these are kind of those non-starters. Because libraries understandably don't want to lose functionality. So these are things that if we take away the traditional catalog that the Angular staff catalog does not offer, to be kind of specific about what those are. It's now on your wiki, so yay, it's on your wiki. All of these lists are there. We'll start 2024 of the new year with a new list, and so we can just keep moving forward. So hooray. Last little note here that you don't have to wait till bug squashing week if you want to continue to update existing bugs and just test them out. If you don't have your own server for testing, just ask. We will put you in touch with people that can load up whatever bug you want to test and give you the access you need. There are community servers, etc. This is a reminder. Okay, 20 minutes in, let's talk about parts. There's a link here to the parts notes, and we have some really, really great notes from last month. If you weren't here, I highly encourage you to review those. Today, let's talk about monograph parts training, monograph parts reports, and then anything else about use case, community standards, the kinds of things that we're struggling with implementing that would make life easier. I did bring over some of the notes about development that Andrea can speak to, things that are in process or have already been implemented as improvements. And then I've got kind of the wish list from last time. I would like to start because we talked about, as we were organizing this meeting, some specific things. So Carol, is this a good time to ask you about the training that you've recently done at CW Mars? And let's make Janet happy because there's been some training on monograph parts at CW Mars.
Well, she won't be quite as happy to hear that only 8 libraries attended our first session.
It's a start.
It's a start, but it's like we've got 160 libraries, and
I won't put that in the notes.
Yeah, no. But so that was very disappointing. But at least we have new documentation done, and we'll, integrate some of that so we can put it on the staff site. And that session was recorded, so we put the recording on the staff site links as well as on our staff YouTube channel that isn't listed, so that libraries can go to it if they don't have time to attend when we run the sessions. But we do fear that many people just said, oh, well, I mean, I know how to do parts. I've been doing parts for years. So didn't really think that was for them.
Yeah.
So yes, that, and I should say it wasn't myself who did this. This was Amy. Janet is very familiar with. So she worked very hard on the documentation, and I did share with her some of the links that were mentioned last month, and she was very thankful to receive those.
Great.
So at least one person found that really useful. I was going to share the screen, which I can't do anymore.
I need to stop sharing. There you go. You should be able to
disabled participant screen sharing.
Well, then let me.
I was just going to show the document, and I can send that out. She did say I could send it out to you.
I'm just going to make you the host temporarily. There you go.
Okay, let's see. What am I going?
Janet's right. She says those are the ones who do it wrong. Assuming those are the ones that say, I know how to do.
Okay. So, are you seeing the Understanding Bibliographic Parts training?
Yes.
Excellent. So we decided to go straight to the beginning. What is a part? So, again, the glossary. And one thing we really wanted was what kind of records should have parts and what kind of records should not have parts. Originally, there was only the what should have parts, and we discussed it, said we really need to say what shouldn't have parts as well to make sure that people understand that. And then, rephrasing that. And, also wanted to explain why we use parts, how important it is for holds. So then I shouldn't say we, Amy went through the different types of records that have parts. So, for example, serial records for travel guides and all the test prep that gets published every year or every couple of years, but doesn't really change all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I should say all these numbers are the examples that she provided.
Oh, lovely.
So this, again, just explaining, okay, this gets published every 2 years. You have to put in what year it represents. Mm-hmm. So showing, and she described, okay, this is how you can tell it's a serial record. And then showing what the parts look like when they're done as we ask them to.
So nice.
Following our standards. And pointing out that some libraries like to have a list of the records that need parts, mm-hmm. so they're not constantly having to check.
Excellent advice.
And then periodicals, which of course gets a lot worse because they come out so often, mm-hmm. weekly and monthly. And so describing what those are, and then showing some examples of, okay, here's a variety of ways that people have added parts incorrectly. So, and that it makes a difference, even if it's just, the slash or a space or, June with an E and June without an E.
Kind of like authority records.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, these all have pages on the staff site and examples. So it's just reiterating it in different ways, as well as, the basic way to try and help people understand. Now, graphic novels is a mess because about half the libraries who have records for graphic novels want individual records for each volume.
Mm.
Because they like having, they and their patrons like being able to see the cover, because that helps them figure out which ones they've read and which ones they haven't. And about half the libraries want it on one bib record for that series.
Mm.
So those ones need parts, but the ones that are the monograph records should not have parts, which, as you may guess, gets mixed up a lot because some libraries just start attaching to both. Sometimes they'll attach to the monograph and sometimes to the series. And again, parts are forgotten on the series or added to the monographs.
I like the unequivocal note. If you use a serial record, you will use parts.
Yes, if you use the individual volume records, you will not use parts.
Yes.
Yes, and try to remember what you use. And we do say, try to be consistent. If you're going to use monograph records for your graphic novels, use monograph records. Do not use the series. And if you use the open records, only use the open records. Don't start using the monographs for some titles because it gets confusing for everyone, even more confusing. So again, you can see, here's an example. They show people have added parts to the series record. And then some libraries for this one have not added parts. And then you can see that for this monograph, this library has added the 7. So it's the 7th title. It's the 7th volume in the series. They can add it to the end of their call number. So they still know which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
But they should not use it in the part. So just trying to say, okay, if you want the part in the monograph record, just add the part to the end of your call number.
This goes back to when Mary started last month. She said that parts are all about holds. And I like your note there that says, if you just put it in the call number so that you don't throw a wrench in the holds process.
Yes. And then DVD or CD sets. Again, you see some do the Blu-ray only and some do DVD only, which,
Mm-hmm.
we have to discuss that more because a lot more libraries are breaking up their Blu-ray DVD sets, and some want, individual records for those, and some do not.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really need to find a consistent way to do that, because someone will say, oh, well, there's the Blu-ray record in here, but it's a different UPC or something. And that's because, oh, well, that's for the set.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been broken up. And then there are the multi-volume sets where, again, you would have, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3 in this multi-volume set, say, encyclopedias or whatever, where you would not have the, if you are checking out an encyclopedia that's a multi-volume set, you're probably not checking out all of the volumes in it. And then, because this is, such a small section of actually adding the part, how to add the part, it was saved to the end. And, emphasizing that, please check first if there is an existing part. And then, again, if you don't find the part, you can add it very easily. Just make sure that you're adding it in the standardized way that we have set up. And then we have the FAQs section. What happens if I don't use a part when I should? What happens if I don't use a standardized part? If I see wrong parts in the list of parts in a bib record, should I report them? Yes, please. Can I just use the call number to indicate my part instead of using the parts field? No. You can add it to the end, but if the bib record requires parts, you still need to add the part.
Definitely.
So apparently those who attended appreciated it, and we know that many libraries have requested parts training, so we know that there is the interest out there. But hopefully it was just a matter of timing that they did not attend as many as we would have hoped.
Yeah. Well, maybe word will get out now because that's a fabulous document. So thanks to you and to Amy for
Yes,
putting
and
that
I will
together, for
share
sharing it.
that.
Okay. Share the agenda back here. Okay, I'm sharing again. And thank you for being willing to share that with the community too. That's really fabulous training documentation.
I will let Amy know.
Certainly. Let me clarify. Janet, libraries do like the videos. Yes, they do, Janet. Let me clarify one thing. So you are, Carol, you are right now on, I'm backing back up. You're on 374, but you have the staff view. Is that probably because it was backported to you? I'm trying to remember when staff view was.
Yes, so we funded the staff
Mhm.
view tab, and we were on 373. We had planned to upgrade in April, and during the testing, we decided that we didn't want to do the full upgrade because there were too
Mhm.
many little
Yep.
issues with everything.
The list of
So
12. Mhm.
yeah, so we have the unofficial 374,
Mhm.
which includes the staff tab because that's what we really wanted for that. And we'll see what happens next.
And
We
backported may not be the right word there. I was just going to say, but I'm going to use that anyway.
Yeah.
It's the right word.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I
fine.
mean they did a custom. You guys did a custom backport, right? Like Jason Stevenson did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Andrew, that brings me to dev work then. When is the staff view? I'm just scrolling. I'm sorry. I should scroll slower.
310, I think, is when
10.
staff view went into main,
Yeah, I think so.
but I'm not. I don't have it in front of me either.
Yeah, me.
Yes, because that's what we were planning to go to in the spring, which we didn't.
Let me just add that here and we'll find it. So staff view.
It wasn't. Yeah.
310 to be confirmed. Okay. I'll do that. Somebody will do that. Okay. And I think we talked last time a little about some of the other dev work that's going on. I want to make sure that we can speak to that, but then also talk about reports. So while I'm looking at dev, Andrew, you want to touch on those just kind of briefly about these other pieces that were just most recently released in 311, what's coming in 312?
And the 311 staff view is also 311. I just looked that
thanks.
up. So,
Thanks.
Right. Switching gears to parts. Also released in 311 was that bug linked there, the disable title level holds. But in a normal, prior to this patch, normally the selection of a monographic part is optional. If there is at least one copy on the bib without a monographic part, this gets back to, of course, what Carol is talking about, which is why it's part of why it's so important to use, to all agree to use parts in the same way with the same vocabulary, but in a real world setting, that doesn't always happen. So the new setting allows a library to require part selection, even if there is that one copy without the part. So you can put that at either the library setting level, which is based on each individual library, or there is also a global flag to set at the API level that will require you to place a hold or to place a title hold. Sorry, I'm like stumbling over my words.
No, you're right. We're following you.
I was in a show that just closed this weekend and I am very tired. Right.
You're doing a great job.
I really appreciate the cheers. I'm not. Anyway, So while it is possible for the setting and the global flag to differ, the global flag will be operable for things like third-party callers like SIP or self-check and stuff like that. So that's why it was divided in that manner. So if you are using third-party things, you would want to make sure you've got the global flag set, because that is what the Evergreen API and therefore third-party things are going to be using. But you can do a more granular control, at the library setting level to require or to disable title level holds on bib records with parts, or require them if you want. And then the next piece of it, which is pending, is on my list. I have a few things on the list from Equinox that have missed releases in the past that we're working on getting ready for review again in this 3.12 release cycle, and that is relabeling. And that says that it's all parts versus any parts relabeling, but really what it does is it lets you can put any it's basically a little kind of hijack, I should say, of the translation mechanism, and it lets you put whatever label you want on that. So you could put parts with a Z, as I did during testing, if you want. But this sort of dodges the discussion on the original bug, where there were some people or some organizations that wanted the word all parts and some wanted the word any parts. And it really kind of came down to how they used parts, and kind of, again, harkening back to what Carol talked about, how strict they were with how parts were applied. Like, I would say that if you're just thinking about parts, like, seriously take a big page from Carol and CW Mars and take what they have said to heart about like how strict they are in the consortium level about how you use it, because it really is, again, all about filling holes in the way that your patrons expect it. But if you have parts and it's sort of the Wild West, you might be making different determinations. So that, so Jennifer's got the label up there. So yeah, basically it gives you a mechanism to make that label whatever you want. So it can be all parts, it can be any parts. It is, and that is not going to change anything about how it works. It's just going to change what the label is, because whether it's going to select an all part or any part is depending on how you use parts and how you've got those hold flags set, those library settings set that I just talked about.
So you could use something like, "Are you feeling lucky?"
Yeah. You could do "Are you feeling lucky?" That would actually be pretty funny. But
and now I will in testing.
And yes, you totally can.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. But there is a bigger kind of piece behind that, where that little function that we built to do that can eventually, like, there's now a little admin interface for it. And in the beginning, it would be in the beginning, bleh, y'all. Eventually, it can be used for basically any kind of Angular or staff catalog or OPAC component. I mean, somebody would need to develop that, but that little staff admin interface for changing that label in the future could have all manner of things hung off of it, and it sort of gets around a bigger problem of it's really hard to change Angular labeling in some cases, and this gives a way to do that. So there is a hidden future benefit in there as well that other developers could certainly build upon. In addition to, renaming parts like "Are you feeling lucky, punk?" or parts with a Z, or whatever you want to do. So yeah, sorry, that was a very meandering crash course to that. I apologize if it was confusing. I do encourage you for the disable part title level holds on bib records with parts bug. Jason Etheridge wrote a very comprehensive commit message that is linked there from that bug. So this is here. I can actually just throw that commit message right into the notes.
Yeah, that'll be better
because I was sort of cribbing from it right now. Thank you, Jason.
Yes, really.
And that, talks a little bit more about what he did and the different use cases that you would want to use it in. So there is commit message here. I'm not sure why that's different font, but okay.
Me either, but It's mind of its own.
whatever.
And while you're doing that, I'll just answer Janet's question the best of my ability. It's a question that I think we've all answered and ask ourselves rather routinely. If it says all parts, does the patron expect to actually get every part of the set? I think it's fair to say some patrons would.
And I think that was kind of part of the debate on the original bug was, what does that mean anyway? And, are they going to get all of the parts? Or, yeah. The real answer is agree as a consortium how you're going to do your parts and do it all the same way.
Yeah. And make sure your staff understands it well enough to educate your public.
Right. But there is, for those who are interested, there is an extensive community debate on that, relabeling the all parts versus any parts, where various people, have talked about their different use cases and how they would see those things as being completely different in meaning. And so that's where we decided that, you know what, we're going to let people call it whatever they want. And then they can make the decision based on their use of parts, their hold policies, and, use the labeling that makes sense to them and it makes sense to their patrons.
It's an elegant solution.
And, hopefully does not propone too much mischief on the part of half of people, Relabeling it like parts.
Right. And when we come together to talk about parts, and it doesn't work like that in my library.
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks. So for that list of libraries that are upgrading, or we're looking forward to 312 even, there's more parts loveliness on the horizon. We've got a wish list that we started because we don't stop there. Some of these things we talked about last time were just ability to place multiple holds in order. And if only it were centrally available, or you could batch create monograph parts. Anyway, there's some other little things going on there. There's some, this is a more sophisticated and much more detailed thing here about this bug that Evergreen, Indiana is kind of working on. So anyway, I wasn't really intending to go over this. I just wanted to say that the parts wish list is something we started last month, but I left it here so that we can add to it if there's anything else you want to add to the wish list. As I scroll back up, and let's talk about in the last 10 minutes or so we have together, libraries that are using parts. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. No
digression. No,
it's not a digression because you brought it up.
Okay.
That change hold from one type to another is hairy. It's hairy. Just so everybody knows, that is I would be astonished if that is something that is ready for 3012. I know that we all want to see it, but
yeah, and just
that's harder than a lot of people.
Yeah,
it's harder than a lot of people think it is. So before y'all get all excited about that, remember that holds are complicated, and that
the best of days,
that bug is a mountain to scale.
And that bug would be to try to change a hold once it's placed from a title level hold to an item level hold, or vice versa. And I think just that makes my head hurt even thinking about it.
The original RFQ was even more detailed than that. I'm not sure the precise details of what Adam is working on with that, but it was like basically being able to change any hold type to any other hold type if there was a copy available to fill that hold, or if it would be a valid hold.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm done.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, but it is worth. Thank you, though. It was nice to say this isn't something that's like nearing completion and release. This is just a wish list bug that's got a lot of tentacles and some obstacles and tentacles, and I'm out of words. Okay, let's go back up. Yeah, it scares me too. So as we're implementing this, I do want us to start talking about reports, because we're going to continue reports conversation, not just about monograph parts, but cataloging reports, the kinds of things that we can do to help maintain the databases and kind of do some quality control work in there, and then help really keep our collections clean and beyond just weeding kind of thing. Parts obviously need that kind of management because it's not a true controlled vocabulary. So I know that we have two different examples here of ways that we've approached this. Let's start with Mary. Do you want to talk about, because not everybody has SQL access, but for those of you that do, you've been working with a SQL query to try to tackle some of this stuff.
Yeah, I admit I am a reports dummy. I cannot piece things together, but SQL I'm comfortable with, so I can get where I want to go with it. Can I share my screen?
Sure you can. Let me stop sharing mine and let me make you the host. Where'd you go? Mary, Mary, Mary. Where'd you go on my screen? There you are.
All right, let's see.
Yes,
Well,
you are now host.
It says host disabled, participant screen sharing. So I'm going to try again.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. All right, so this kind of looks a little scary. And I don't want to, get into the whole thing of, what it's all doing. But basically, what it asks the system to do is look at bib records and see if it's has parts associated with it, and then check to see if there's any items that don't have parts on them. So that's what I was shooting for. Some of these fields are variable, like I can search by library by using their org unit ID number, and then I can also specify by look at the items with certain circ modifiers. So we both mostly do based on our DVDs. These are the circ modifiers our libraries are using, but you can also use swap that line out and use the ones for audio books, the various circ mods we use for that, or just plain books. So I wouldn't expect everybody to memorize this. So is there some place I can send it that it can be shared in general?
Sure. Can you take a screenshot and email it to me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yep. That's all I need. And I'll throw it in the notes.
All right. So
Perfection.
this is, we use pgadmin to access our database. So I've got my query here for looking for DVDs. And when I run it, what I asked for is I want the record bib ID, I want the title of the bib, I want the call number of the item, and the barcodes. And is everybody seeing this? Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. So what I do, these are items owned by the Woodbury Library that are on records that parts exist, but these particular items don't have parts. So I will just take, that's the bib record ID, and do a search for it. My default view is the mark view. Your mileage may vary. So you see a lot of libraries do have the parts. Woodbury is probably way down the list. So there's a string of Woodbury items that don't have any parts. So I already I preceded this ahead of time. I checked change holdings, so I'm just looking at the Woodbury view, and then I just go through and select the item. I'll just do a couple because we don't need to go through all 10 of them. And I'll say edit my call numbers and items, and then I see there's part 1, so I'll pick my part that goes with that. Just decided it was disk 1. I tend to put leading zeros so that
yes,
1 and 10 don't end up together. Disk 3.
And can we say that was a nice improvement of quality of life there to be able to do that, to be able to select 4 and change them to be different monograph parts. All
right, so then we go down, look at so there's my 4 Woodbury records that items I've already changed. Sometimes I'll find, like when I first got to, I don't know if it was this record, it was a similar one. Let me look at monographs. I had a mess of things. I had some that were disk 1 and we had disc 01.
Mhm.
And then we had first inning, second inning. So like that's just crazy talk.
Oof.
Somebody,
Yes.
they were going by what was on the disc itself, I guess. So
Oh, man.
just want to be standardized. And so say disc. So then I was able to like pick a couple out and use the merge selected. So we got a nice, much cleaner list. So that's pretty much what we do with MySQL query. Since it is not a report, the libraries themselves can't run it, but the ones who are conscientious will periodically ask me to run it for them, and then I'll send them a Excel sheet of the results so they can go and fix their items themselves. But often what I'll do is I'll review that list first to see if we have any rogue parts on there that I want to clean up, or if a record had a part it shouldn't have had, I can clean that out. But so that's where we're at. I asked Gina this morning if we had a report developed yet for our parts, and she couldn't find anything. And she was like, "Oh, this is going to be a bear to put together." And I said, "Don't worry about it. I wasn't really asking to get one. I just wanted to know if we had one." So that's it. That's where I'm at.
That's great. That's lovely. So yeah, if you'll send that to us, we'll get it in the notes. And I love how easy it is to clean up, but when you get long list of results like that, I know that you can just spend a while doing that. Mhm.
I want to stop sharing.
Okay.
Here we go.
You got it?
There we go.
And I keep moving things around. See if I can get back. Share mine. And actually, I know we're coming up here on a couple of minutes. Kate, can you stick around for about 5 extra minutes and talk about your report, or shall we move that till November?
No, I can. Thank you.
Okay, let's do that. I will make you the host. Nope. I need to take back hosting duties from Mary first. How do I do that? Mary, maybe you have to stop being host.
How do I do that?
Can you click on the little 3 dots above in the
Okay.
top right? Does it say stop being host?
I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing chat and show chat previews, but I'm not seeing anything about hosting.
Okay. Oh, maybe I need to stop sharing my screen. I don't think I'm sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Well, then I need to stop sharing.
Oh no, I'm not. No, I don't see your screen. I'm seeing the cast of attendees.
Okay, let's see who's currently the host. This is fun.
You know, if you change your share screen to say multiple participants can share simultaneously, I think that would solve the same thing.
And I am not sure I can do that.
I've just reclaimed the host.
Thank you. Could you please make Kate the host?
Yes.
Teamwork.
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
All right, are we seeing what I'm seeing here?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so Mary talked about how reports, we all know, are super, super fun. So this is what I call our Frankenstein parts report. This was exactly like Mary said, it was a bear to put together. And it's still, the output of it is much more information than we need, but I'd rather have more information than not enough information. So this is just a quick look of what the report is itself. And we are filtering by shelving location. So of course, I'm only picking things that we have parts on. And then I'm only picking my own libraries. We do have this run for us. While we have this for our libraries, Equinox as our host, they also run it for us every month as well. And we get a huge report with every single library's output in it, and every cataloger in our consortium gets it. So we can see, the situation for everything. But this is what it comes out looking like. So, right, this is the full report. but after a bit of finagling, you do your Excel magic and you filter and you sort and everything. Just a quick overview of what I do. First, I sort by part. Well, let's see. No, first I sort by this field here, which is the video discs, or it's the 300 field is what it is. Let me go back to this, because the crux of this report is that it's looking at the 300 field in the mark record in the A field of the subfield A in mark field 300. And then the output. So the first thing I do is I just delete everything that is just one disk. This is just clogging up my report. I obviously don't need to part things that only have one disk. So ultimately, when I have removed all of the rows of what I don't want, I am left with this kind of thing. So, for example, Mary talked about rogue parts. We do have common language here in Missouri Evergreen for our parts, and these three do not meet those criteria. So these are errant parts that I need to fix. But as you can see here, these all have more than one disk, or some part of it's more than one part, so it has to be parted for our consortium, and these don't have parts at all. So when I'm filtering out, when I have this full report and I'm filtering out, I am looking through everything to make sure that, because I don't want to just delete everything that does have a part, because those parts might not be correct. But after all is said and done, and I've cleaned up that report, let's see, the full report had 27,198 items on it. And of course, remember that's everything that we have, that, this is a 300 field for all of our audiovisual, essentially, is what it is. So, but when I have cleaned everything up and only gotten the data that I want, which I can do relatively quickly if you know Excel and you know exactly what you want and how to filter and sort and get that stuff out of there, then, I cleaned this up in less than 10 minutes to get the data that I wanted. So we went from 27,000, and then the bibs that I actually need to correct, or the holdings that I need to correct, were down to 293. So these are the ones that I have nearly 300 items that are not parted correctly, or are not parted at all. And this is just for my library. So that's what that report does for us. And like I said, you get a lot of information that you might not necessarily need, but I can clean that up pretty quickly to get to the information that does help me.
That's really quick too, being able to take all of that. I think we all have that approach from time to time. Like, just give me all the data and I'll find in there what I need. And that's,
yeah, absolutely.
It works. It absolutely works. So you do this monthly now, or just as time allows?
We do this month. It's run every month for all of our consortial libraries. Now, whether or not, we don't follow up with, are you fixing your parts? Maybe someday we will be able to do that. But as of now, it's kind of honor system. It's up to everybody to work on it themselves. For my library specifically, we absolutely do this every month. So
yeah. Fabulous. Looks like it's very effective. I'm seeing the commonality there between that and what Mary does too. It's not something that all libraries could really do themselves. So it does require somebody leading them down that path.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sorry, just one other thing. We do have extensive directions on how to run this, how to get the output you want narrowed down in Excel and all of that stuff for our consortial catalogers, because, working in Excel is not always fun.
Nope. Especially if people don't do it regularly, or they're just not accustomed to that kind of heavy work. Not heavy work. I'm typing and thinking at the same time. Yep. How to work with the large Excel files. Got it.
Okay, I stopped sharing and I made you the host again.
Perfect. Got it.
Jennifer.
So I'll just share back to the agenda. We will make our next plans. Well, I thank you all for sharing today. And I did just change the multiple participants. We'll know that next time.
Jennifer, I did put a comment in the chat.
Let me go back. Oh, yes, I see that. I'm sorry. I was too busy playing with who's hosting here. Janet's reminders that if creating the same part for multiple copies, only the first item gets the part, because until that first part is created, it doesn't exist for the rest of the copies. That's true. Very, very true. So you have to double check your work there too, which I find has always been part of my follow-up there. It's been, did I do it? And then I go up and go, yes, yes, I did it. What does it look like? But yeah, that's one of those things you always have to double check. That very first one. Thanks. That's a great hand. I'll make sure that gets in our notes. Okay, see, and I said we could talk about parts just on, and we can. Thank you all for a great conversation. It is time to wrap up. I will say that I'll get all this back out there. If you have wish lists, please bring them back. We can continue this conversation next month. Next month, we do want to talk about cataloging reports. I called this revisited because we've had a conversation sometime in probably the last year, a little more, about the kinds of cataloging reports that we would like to see, or the whole, is it possible to get this kind of report? We can include monograph parts with us too. I'll dig up that long list that we had. It's not a long list, it's a well organized list, so that we can revisit that in November. I'll send it out early so we can start just kind of planting the seeds for the conversation. Then certainly can continue this conversation on the list in November as well. So we'll meet regular time next month, and we'll be well into November. So good to see you all. Take care. I'm going to stop the recording. Jen, if you want to hold around for just a second, we'll check in with you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks to everyone. You stop sharing. And okay, close that. Stop the recording.